Welcome to AdTalkOC, the show that highlights creative minds in Orange County. Today we're having a conversation with John Zegowitz, Executive Creative Director who brings ingenuity and an award-winning vision to every campaign. Let's get started.
John, thank you so much.
Oh my God, you guys. It's terrific. Thank you. Glad to be here. But enough about me. How about you? How are you, Joe?
I am doing great. We really have known each other for a long time, and we've worked together.
Ins and outs.
Yeah. You have had quite a career in advertising and marketing. What was the spark when you were young that got you into this industry?
I can tell you that. I mean, I've always been more fascinated with commercials than I was the shows until Vardy Miller came along. But I remember this Anheuser-Busch Natural Light commercial. I got really into like the comedy and then even the drama of the different commercials. You know, I loved the ad with the Indian with the tear. I mean, that one just hit such a emotional chord.
Yeah.
Right? So I would see these things, and I didn't know it was a fact. Just to me, it was just TV, right? It was just, and it was black and white. An art teacher asked me when I was in high school, "What are you going to do after school?" And I was like, because I was like a CD student, And I said, "I don't know." And I honestly was like, I think I'm just going to move to Colorado and live like Jeremiah Johnson. Like I really had this vision of myself wearing animal pelts and digging gold out of people's teeth, right? And that's how I was going to make my living. And he said, "Oh." And a couple of days later, he came in and he said, "Hey, take a look at this place." And he handed me a brochure for Colorado Institute of Art, which was a trade school. It was just a dinky little trade school. I don't want to trash it. It did right by me. But it was there that I learned, there's like an entire industry around this. And I fell in love with it. And I ended up coming out of that as a graphic designer, and a little bit, one thing led to another, and I can reflect on it and just go, well, that's been a cool journey,
Yeah, so you were driven initially by art. I felt the same way. I was really surprised when I graduated from college that there was a whole world, a career that you could work in.
Right, that there was an industry. It wasn't just
Exactly.
I can't sell paintings, or whatever,
Right.
or ceramics, And it's funny because even when you're in that world, there's so many different places you can go, right? Oh my God, I can be a graphic designer, I can be a producer, I can be a director, it's amazing the spectral nature of the business, when you finally are aware of it.
Yeah. So really, with agencies, you've held many roles. You've been an art director. Have you been a copywriter?
Yeah.
You've done pretty much
Yeah.
kind of dabbled in all the different creative roles.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that makes a good creative. I mean, if you say, no, that's not my job, that's very limiting.
Yeah, very good point. You've worked with really, truly some remarkable brands. Is there a campaign or project that really changed the way you think about storytelling?
I was in Chicago at the time, and one of our clients was Miller Brewing Company, and our job was to come up with 25 new concepts, new brand concepts, new product concepts a month.
25?
25.
Holy smokes.
And so the only way to really do that is to have a story, right? Is to build a story around these. Because otherwise you're just going Miller Light, Miller Extra Light, Miller Heavy, where do you go with it? So that was really cool. It was like before you even start the marketing, you start the storytelling, which was a fascinating way of approaching it.
And really, the storytelling is what really you kind of grew to understand, and that's just carried on for years now and decades.
I think so. I mean, I believe that without a story, you don't have a relationship, and you have to create a relationship with your customer, and you have to align. I always call it on shared passions, and you have to have this Venn diagram of interests, right? So if it's a brand that has a real personality and a real sort of passion for certain things, it could be the outdoors, it could be arts, it could be anything, that's going to allow you to have a stronger bond with your customers. I did a whole construct around this where it's like if you can meet your customers and grab their heart or their gut, rather than try to rationalize them into a relationship. Just meet them on that emotional level, and they'll figure out a way to rationalize it. And once they rationalize it, it's really hard to move somebody off a relationship they rationalized, right? If they came up with that purpose for having this relationship, it's really hard to knock them out of that rut with like a 59-cent taco versus a 69-cent taco,
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. They're so connected to
There's
it.
a bond. Yeah.
Right. One more question about, your youth and looking back, what would you tell your younger self starting out in this business?
Have more fun. Like when I was young, I was so angry and so angsty, and I took everything personally. And I would say, be more open-minded, have more fun, don't take it personally. It's, you don't have to have an opinion about everything,
Just have fun and take risk,
And know that it's a playground. It is a really, really cool playground, and not everyone else sees that, Everyone else, you run into account people or even some strategists who I love, but they just get so gripped up, It's like, have fun with it, not at the expense of others, but just always have fun and be passionate.
Right.
If you don't have to be passionate about everything about that coupon ad or whatever, but
Right.
look for opportunities and be passionate and be aware, and really think laterally. It doesn't have to be, okay, I got this and I need to build up. Where else can this go?
Yeah.
Think laterally.
Yeah.
That's where magic happens too, is that's when you start going, oh, what if I start taking this idea and turn it into a movement, or turn it into a nonprofit, or turn it into whatever, now you start bringing things to life.
Oh, excellent. Moving on about creative and strategy, how do you balance creativity with data-driven decisions now? I mean, the marketing landscape is just so different because we have data. How do you balance the creativity and data?
Data is no different than a focus group, right? It's no different than the information that you were gathering for strategy earlier. It is just, it's something that gives you greater insights. And that doesn't mean it's making your decisions for you. Just like a focus group shouldn't make your decision. It should inspire you to kind of go, oh, I need to listen to what they're saying and have it affect the creative somehow. Same thing with data, but then use data. Data is a powerful tool to find out how you're doing, and effectively and quickly, because you still have to be developing this brand with a heart and a soul and a story, right? So if that data's information doesn't fit that heart, brand, and story, it's your job as creative to go, okay, how do I create this connective tissue between the two, and make it valuable to both the brand ethos and to the customer. So you're always, as a creative, you're always a problem solver, right?
Great insight. What do you think separates a good campaign from a great one?
I think it's something that really connects with the culture. I mean, if you look, everyone throws Nike out there. What Nike did so well is connected and advanced the culture and featured the culture and celebrated that culture. It wasn't like, that culture was already there and already thriving and already rich with passion.
Right.
All they did is go, us too, we're one of you, and let's celebrate it together,
Yeah.
And so when you can have those things that really connect on a cultural level, that's why Liquid Death is doing so well, right? I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Liquid Death, the first time I ever heard that, I was like, you're
Crazy.
yeah, you're bleep. And then I started seeing what it was all about, and I was like, oh, this is just genius.
Yeah. You were talking earlier about that Indian campaign,
Yeah.
in the 70s, I think. And I remember that. That was really, to your point, a very powerful, and we're still talking about it.
We still talk about it, and it's to this day, if I see somebody throw something out the door or out the window, or I see something on the side of the highway, you can't help being in our generation, but think of that.
Right.
And yeah, it's just it's crazy how emotional and how much that sticks with you.
Yeah, so true. How do you approach taking creative risk? I mean, is that your gut, or how do you know it's worth taking a risk for?
I think, a lot of creatives that have the opportunity to kind of get a little bit under a little bit of experience under the belt, they recognize when it's lightning in a bottle. For me, it's just always it's almost physical. I feel it on the back of my head. I'm just like, boom, oh my God, that's it,
Wow.
And just everything kind of comes together and you realize, oh my God, this is it.
Yeah.
And then when you start putting it on paper, you're rationalizing why it's it. But you'll be able to understand that there's a maybe it's something in the strategy that inspired it, something in the strategy that there was a hole there that needed filling. And when you can start articulating it and you start getting one person, two people, socialize that idea, and people are like going, yeah, they understand it. Those little moments of validation are really what kind of start getting that engine going too. Some of the most award-winning work that I've done happened in like 10 seconds. It was like, there was this Kawasaki spot we did where it was like, the idea of like, you can't get anything much more thrilling than a ride on a Ninja. And it was a guy like stuck in a doctor's office, and he gave himself like the charges, and that won a bunch of awards. And it was like, and it came literally in like 10 seconds, and it was just like the script and everything. It was like, but those are things where it's like, it's so obvious. What was another one was, there was, we did a Wiener Schnitzel campaign, and, the tagline was the world's most wanted wiener. And so we had this hot dog is always running away, and so we had this woman running through this dorm area and after the hot dog, and the hot dog slips in under a door. And then you see the hot dogs climb up under, it's dark, climbs up under the bed sheets to hide. She goes in after it. She lifts the bed sheets and she's like looking for the hot dog. And all of a sudden the light comes on and this guy's like, well, hello there. She grabs something. She goes, gotcha. And then he goes, oh, hello there. And and she just starts screaming. And then the hot dog pops its head up next to him and he starts screaming. It was hilarious. It was really, really funny. But again, another 10-second,
AdTalkOC is proudly brought to you by IG1 Communications and the American Advertising Federation of Orange County, the community where marketers, creatives, and advertisers come together to learn, connect, and grow. If you're looking to level up your skills, expand your network, or stay ahead of what's happening in the industry, AAFOC has you covered with workshops, speaker events, and exclusive member opportunities all year long. Join the community that's shaping the future of marketing in Orange County. Visit aaforangecounty.com to learn more and get involved.
What is one of the biggest mistakes you see in brands making today when they're trying to stand out?
I see a lot of brands trying to be over-eager, trying to force relationships, trying to force unnatural relationships, trying to connect in ways that are like inauthentic. And I do think that brands need to give back. And when they're showing that they're giving back to their community, giving back to their when I say community, it's their audience. It's the broader spectrum of when I say you're connecting on an emotional level or on a cultural level, give back to that culture. Make sure that everyone is thriving within that culture. And it's interesting. We've seen that maybe 10 years ago, brands were really doing that well. I saw, the NFL really standing up for women's rights and, protecting women and really coming out and saying, hey, look, there's something wrong with our culture and we all need to kind of get around it and stop this. That was an amazing moment. I think those types of things are key to creating a broader impact on culture. And then there's other brands that come in and do it so ham-handed or just don't care. You know, they're just coming in looking for the transactions, looking for immediate impact and getting out. And, you know, you see a negative effect when that happens, you know, for their brand or sometimes for culture. I think you can see a little bit of that going on today, you know. Brands are confused on how to handle this environment right now.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out.
It really is like what I'm hearing from you is it's a long game. You know, there's nothing building relationships, making a connection. A lot of times that's not something that can be done instantly. It really is a longer term
It's an authentic game
yeah,
too.
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
game of authenticity.
Yeah.
You know, I'm currently working on a project where we are literally trying to change the minds of how people perceive Laguna Beach. And that's a long game. That's 5 to 10 year project, you know,
Yeah,
how we don't want people to see Laguna Beach as this playground, as this place they can come and, you know, invade the tide pools with oil on their skins and, you know, it just harms the tide pools. We don't want them, you know, down there destroying these coves that took millions of years to form, you know.
Right.
Come in with respect, come in with the reverence for the community and be part of the community. You know, we'd like you to be, but
Yeah.
you have to have the mindset that we as a community have in protecting what we have. And to be able to change that, it's not going to happen overnight. You can't just tell people, you can't know them into a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you see the role of brand purpose evolving in a world that's increasingly skeptical? Seems like, you know, social media is really playing a part right now of just perception and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think it's, again, it goes back to authenticity, you know, live and if you're going to have a claim, if you're going to have a position, you have to live that position. So, again, going back to, you know, Liquid Death, which is everyone's darling now,
Yeah.
you know, they do it so well, you know, and they're offensive and they're challenging but you can't say they're inauthentic, right?
Right.
They are who they are.
Yeah.
And you gotta love that.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. So we're going to move on to industry insights and trends, and we're going to obviously talk about the big elephant right now, which is AI. With AI influence, culture, and new tech changing the advertising and marketing world, what excites you the most about AI and what concerns you the most?
Starting off with the concerns, I mean, obviously deep fakes and, you know, my mom, I love my mom. She's like adorable. She spends 3 months of the year with me in the winter from New Hampshire. When I see her literally buying into these AI things and believing them, and I'm just like, it breaks my heart, but it also really scares me, you know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are don't have the sophistication of being in the business or on production or whatever that understand how easy that is to achieve, you know?
Yeah.
Even for amateurs. And so that opens up a world of, you know, miscommunication and that's I think devastating to our culture. But on the other hand,
Right.
I think there's so much that's open to us as creatives and as producers and as just, you know, this industry. If we stop fearing it and embrace it and use it as tools, I think it could be magic, you know. And when I left SES, my current shingle is Pilots and Machines, and the idea of Pilots and Machines is helps the thinking is transform these people that are doing all the doing, you know, designers, art directors, writers, producers, they're doing the doing, right? Let's level them up to be the leaders. They're the pilots because they were able to unleash their power, their hidden talents, their intelligence. And instead of doing, getting caught up in kerning and getting caught up in all the mechanical aspects of it, there's tools out there to do that for us now. And so you can be the pilot and just grab the machine you need to take the journey, right? And I think that's the power of the future. Is it there yet? Not 100%, but the way I use AI has really cut through so much of the legwork. I have it. Here's a deck I need to put together. Give me a logical flow. Pour it in. It pours it out. Right now, am I using that copy? Am I using all of that? No. But I'm like, thank you. You just reorganized it for me. Not really liking that organization. I want to end on this as my.
Got it. Yeah.
Go do it again. And it comes back and gives me an organization. Great. Can you create a timeline for me to get from point A to point B? And it backs out things. It gives me, here's the stages. I'm like, all right, now I need to have community presentations within that. Can you help me create these milestones and break out a timeline for that? So these things are things that, if I were doing it on my own, that would be 48 hours.
Yeah,
right?
so time intensive.
Or I'd have to hire somebody or something like that.
Right,
so it really allows me to be I have a lot more dexterity, I use it for research, validate your research.
Yeah, right.
Proofread everything, it's all,
Yeah, I mean, in a way, it's almost like you're feeding what you're wanting, and the benefits and time savings just comes back in tenfolds, for that. Yeah.
One of my the most disappointing things to me, Jill, is getting on LinkedIn and seeing people my age or even younger being threatened by this stuff. And, I don't know about you, but I've been around long enough to see when the computers came in. When I started in this industry, there weren't computers, and it was the same thing. Computers, it's all wrong. It's going to ruin advertising.
The internet,
Social media, Mandy Dawson put it best when everyone was afraid of social media. She said, it's just another media. It's like,
Good way, yeah.
You don't have to be afraid of this stuff. I am excited. Every day I wake up and there's something new and I'm just going, holy shit, we're doing that now?
Yeah.
I love it. I'm excited. Don't be afraid of things. This is an awesome opportunity.
Right. And having fun.
Yeah.
What, in regards to that, what is your, what are the trends or content creation for the next 5 years? What is your prediction going forward?
Well, it's always going to be entertainment led, right? So the things that stick are entertaining. The things that people really respond to are entertaining. The things that people really pass along are either entertaining or scary, right? So I think the future, I don't think it's going to be so incredibly different. It's just going to be in new forms, new forms of entertainment, new forms of developing that entertainment. I don't know about you, but my kid is still, when they're like scrolling through things, it's still about like, they could be falling on old school comedy and they're so enraptured in it,
Yeah.
When you get together with friends on the weekend, and you're, what is it that you go, that you say you saw that week, and it's, it's always going to be something about entertainment or.
Yeah. Great insight. Let's move on to about leadership and team building.
Probably in the beginning, it was probably my ego that got in the way. And then later on, it was a broken ego that might have gotten in the way. I was really unsure of myself and my decisions. And so between the two of those, I think the thing that I learned was believe in your people and let your people lead. You know, good people, a good team will, in a way, guide the way for you being a good leader, because you have to take their strengths and find where they really excel, and then bring that out of them, and then leverage that for them and help them leverage that. And one of the things that I really learned was this was one of my favorite lessons. My job is to make them succeed, make them great,
Fantastic, yeah.
and, and to the point where when they leave, I would be like really proud, like really stoked for them.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things about SCS is after like 3 or 4 or 5 years, I realized there was only one person that ever left on their own. And I'm like, okay, I'm proud of that, but at the same time, I'm like, you people need to go out there and find something else.
There's a big world out there. Yeah.
I mean, really that, and give everyone a common mantra, a common manifesto. Like on our team at SCS, we would have a new mantra every year, so every year we kick off, one year it was, Game of Thrones was popular. So we said, what do we say to bad work? Not today, or whatever, so there's always a theme that, you can get people to work around, purpose was a big thing of ours, everything you do has to have purpose. If you can't explain to me why you chose that color, or why you chose that font, or why you made the font that size, you don't have purpose yet. And so that became a mantra, and everyone could rally around that mantra, and it became a thing for us to all kind of explore together,
Right.
So I think things like that,
Yeah.
beyond the work, what is it? What are those things that kind of really are embedded throughout the whole team, a philosophy that everyone can lean into. Tribes need purpose, right? And everyone within a tribe needs their role.
Yeah.
And so it allows you to kind of understand a broader part of that role. And for our team, the creative and content team at SES was, they, I don't think I would be underselling it to say, that was the lifeblood in the beginning of SES. That was the thing that really was the most exciting part of SES. We came in having somehow won Boost Mobile at Chop Shop. A little. There were only like 3 full-time employees there, and I was there as a consultant, helping them to transition into more strategic work. And somehow we won Boost Mobile against international agencies. And from there, we merged with Schiefer Media, and it was just game on. We went from that little thing to 20 people to 120 people in a matter of months, and it was brutal, and it was amazing at the same time.
Yeah.
And so you need to have those things that people can rally around, that spirit that allows them to say, all right, I'm pulling another all-nighter,
Right.
And how do you give people that sort of sense of, but the culture is driving this.
Yeah. That really is, to your point, really good management, when you have that kind of energy and synergy. How do you personally stay grounded and inspired as a leader?
A number of moments in my life where, like, all of a sudden there was just a lot of people freaking out around me, you know, and I just always had to, I think I have a mental imbalance, but I always was able to kind of just go, okay, I got this, you know, and, you know, and I think that's a big part of it is when shit's hitting the fan, somebody has to kind of step in and go, here's how we're going to do it. You know, could be wrong. It could be the wrong approach. It could just be, you know, it could fail miserably.
Right.
But somebody has to step in and go, it's going to be okay. Here's what we're going to do. And as long as it's a logical process that get people to calm down or get people to kind of go, oh, that makes sense. It doesn't even have to be panic. You know, it could be like head scratching. You know, people just don't know what to do yet. And as long as you can kind of put like a little bit of a path in front of them, break down the problem and show them the stepping stones to the solution, I think that's a huge part of it, you know?
Yeah. And that's kind of like your special, one of a kind special sauce, if you will. You know, you just have that within you to just make a stand and take an approach.
I maybe as a leader, but I also feel like my biggest strength was always being a strategic minded creative. Because as a strategic minded creative, again, you're bringing purpose to everything you do. You're bringing rationale. You're able to kind of go in and talk to the client on a very effective level. And if you can tell that story, if you can tell the story of how you built an effective campaign or an effective piece of communications, and they get it, you know, that I think is probably my learned strength is really kind of going, okay, and here's why you should take this risk.
Yeah.
And here's why you should, and show them that path from this is what you said a month ago, and this is what we did with that. And be able to draw a clean line of sight back to their own input. And then, you know, they might say no, and you have to listen and you have to understand why that no is coming. Are they going to have a hard time selling it up? Is it just not fitting? You know, is there another reason? But that no isn't death. That no is, oh, I hear you. So what you're saying, and it's another way to connect. It's another way to connect with your client, show them you're listening, and then build something even better. You know, we had this project for good and fun dog treats, right? Should be fun, you know. Team came up with some great ideas, just some great ideas. And the client's feedback was, yeah, but I need the ideas to be around the product, around the name. And these were essentially around the product, the benefits of the product. But what they weren't doing is solving the problem of people don't know the name. You know, they know the product. The product's everywhere. It's the most ubiquitous product out there. They probably pull it off the shelves without even reading the name, you know, so they don't know they're actually buying this. So the client, the problem was they really wanted people to know the name. So my team, when they got that feedback, they immediately shifted into the mindset of make the logo bigger, right? Oh, God, you know, we got to go do this. We got to go, like, what are we supposed to do? Just make it wall-to-wall, repeat, good and fun. And to let that simmer for a minute and then go, I don't think that's what they're asking. I think they're really asking us to have more fun with the names good and fun. And when they went back and they kind of burned themselves out on the negative, they came back with even more powerful work, you know? So
and fun.
And it was dynamite. It was a dynamite campaign. And it was just like, sometimes you just listen on a positive level, not on a negative level. Be a problem solver, not a oh, you're harshing my creative, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't mean to sound derogatory to my team. They really handled it well, you know?
But to your point, it's almost like they even expanded it to a better place, you know, open that up.
Find that feedback as more inspiration, not as, you know, not as something that's beating you down. Now, a lot of that comes from who's giving the information too and how they're delivering it. So as creatives, sometimes we need to put on our soul calluses and, you know, not take it personally, right?
Yeah, right. So what's next up for you, John? Passion projects or ideas that you're excited about? What's going on next with you?
I'm really, really enjoying this work that I'm doing with Visit Laguna and the city of Laguna Beach. It started a number of years ago when SES was hired to do a rebrand of Visit Laguna, and we did that. It was a really interesting way of diving into who Laguna Beach is as a culture and as a brand, and not just Visit Laguna, but Laguna Beach. And when I was there, I got to know the chairman of the board very well. Years later, there was a turnover at Visit Laguna, and he introduced me to the new CEO, and we came in and did an amazing docuseries together called From Radical Origins, which connects, Laguna Beach's history with who we are today. And it was a 7-part series. And the reaction, or a 7-part series, and the reaction we got from the residents made us realize, we hit it. We really did a great job here. Well, through all of that, my friend and I, who is about to be the mayor, would talk about this approach to tourism called stewardship, and it's a global issue, there's all kinds of destinations that are being really overrun by tourists with massive negative impact, right? And so how do you offset that negative impact? And we would talk about that, talk about how other destinations were doing it. And little by little, we started putting together what that formula and what that architecture would look like for Laguna Beach. And it's a massive undertaking, and residents hate Visit Laguna Beach, right? So you have everything working against you. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do is help make this transformation, and it's been really exciting for me. It's a chance to use those persuasive powers for good rather than evil.
Right, right.
It's a good way. If I end up being able to end my career like this, and making a positive impact on my own community, I think that's a good way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to close with a rapid response questions, if that's okay.
I didn't even read these. So
Okay, I love it.
Raw.
Okay, we got our rapid response questions. What campaign did you wish you had created?
The first one that popped into my head was, I'm a Mac, I'm a PC. I mean, that was so simple and so genius and so well written, right? Oh, there's another one, the Miller High Life stuff, I believe, done by Errol Morris.
Okay.
Errol Morris did a campaign for Wyden for Miller High Life that was just genius. It was just genius. The camera work, the writing, the performances. I always bring that up sometimes and go, this is
it.
That's one of those, yeah.
What is your favorite restaurant in Orange County?
In Orange County. That's a hard one to answer. There's one right down the street here that is a ramen shop, and I don't know the name of it. It's a one that it used to be called Okie Dokie years ago, and so I keep going back to the same place, and I keep calling it Okie Dokie, and it isn't even the same restaurant anymore.
But in Costa Mesa.
It's in Costa Mesa. There's in Laguna Beach, I got to give a couple of shout outs.
Yeah.
I love Broadway. Broadway is like a wonderful, wonderful chef. And just last night I had a dinner with a friend at South and Nick's, which is, Nick's kind of falls through in like as safe and easy, and
I love
South
Nick's.
and Nick's is just like that's a shining gem.
Yeah.
For a taco, in Laguna Beach, you can't beat La Serena. Here's the thing: is like I'm in Laguna Beach. I'm inside a bubble. It's so hard to get into Laguna Beach.
Yeah. Winter there, you never leave.
And
I used to live there.
especially if it's like 6:00 on a Friday night, you're like, I'm so fucking tired.
Yeah.
And
So true.
like, beep.
Yeah. Okay. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received in advertising?
Oh my God, this is great. I mentioned I was a surly little fuck, right?
Yeah.
And I just would get so angry. And One time I had a boss, and I hated this guy. I just hated this guy. And he just looked at me one day. It was a Friday. I remember this. It was a Friday, and he just looked at me and went, "You need to lighten up." And I went home so freaking angry. But by the end of the weekend, I was like, he's right. He's right, And I realized how cool of a job I had. This is, I had been working with, I had been just come out of a shoot with Spike Lee in the Central Park, with hundreds and hundreds of people, part of it. And I was like all gripped up about it, not realizing this is fucking cool.
Lighten up.
Lighten up. And so I always attribute that to being, probably the best piece of career advice I ever got.
I like it. Favorite happy hour place?
Oh, I don't really have one. I guess my backyard.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Best place for brainstorming?
Anywhere but where you're supposed to be. Literally, you gotta get out of your rut.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest problems in Orange County is there's not a lot of inspiration through osmosis, especially when we're all stuck at home these days. Trying to be remote workers, or then you get into the office and it's like it's routine, right?
Yeah.
And, but when you live in a place like Chicago or San Francisco or New York, and you can just step out and walk to the office, and you're just bombarded with inspiration, and it could be the conversation that's happening next to you. It could be the knucklehead guy with some kind of issue that's on the subway that's like yelling at everyone, and, but something comes out that's funny, it could be the person's reaction. We don't have a lot of that around us, so you have to get out of your element and let your mind wander, because solutions need to have a 360. If you keep beating your head into the problem that's from the same direction, you're not going to crack it. So you need other ideas.
John, this has been so insightful. I truly have learned so much about you and your experience being a creative director.
I had fun too. Thank you for having me, Jill.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for such a great conversation. Bold design and creative strategy can elevate brands and make campaigns truly unforgettable. We loved having you on our show. Please come back anytime. Mark your calendar for March 12th at Bowers Museum for the AAF Awards. You won't want to miss this one. This podcast is brought to you by the American Advertising Federation of Orange County, or AAFOC, where we bring together marketers, creatives, and industry pros to share ideas and build community. If you would like to be featured as a guest on our show, shoot us an email. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. And follow us on Instagram at AAFOC.